Welcome back to Talk Today. It's Thursday morning. It is, 7:27. We'll have the papers in just a moment. But here's what else is coming up in this morning's programme.
Sam Ellard is here with the latest sports headlines, including news that Man United CEO of 16 years is to step down. That's at 7:45. At 8:20, we're getting a first look at the final series of The Crown with our royal editor, Sarah Hewson. Plus, we'll discuss the fate of the Labour Party following last night's rebellion. The Sun's Trevor Kavanagh joins us just after 9.
Now, then, let's take another look at some of this morning's front pages. The Times says Rishi Sunak pledges to do whatever is necessary to get his Rwanda policy and the planes off the ground. The Sun says, fed up Rishi, no bloody Rwanda. That's what the Sun says is the PM's deportation plan yesterday blocked by the Supreme Court. And the Mirror. Is nothing sacred, they ask, as private details about the Queen's death are revealed in a new book by Harry and Meghan's biographer, Omid Scobie.
Well, broadcaster Emma Wolfe and journalist James Bloodworth are back with us for another look through this morning's papers. Welcome back, both. Let's kick off with page 4 of the Mail.
So there's David Cameron this week was brought back as Foreign Secretary, who's made a Lord as well. And there have been calls for him to declare all of his Chinese interests after... So Cameron quit after losing the Brexit referendum. And since then, he's been working for a Chinese investment firm. Relations with China were famously good under David Cameron. That's not so much true anymore. There are security concerns about Chinese influence in Britain, for example, same as Russian influence. And there have been calls for Cameron to come clean, basically, to give full disclosure of his work for Chinese investment firm. Because Cameron's appointment this week was also lauded by the official Communist Party state newspaper, or one of them. We
talk about politicians and there doesn't seem to be any clear thinking in terms of clear panelling, right? Tell me, please, that somewhere within these negotiations, as Cameron slipped in the back door a week ago and sat with, you've ruined that, haven't you, with Sunak and talked about the... Tell me that somebody will have gone, right, you're going to get criticised on Greensill. They're going to look into the Chinese thing. Tell me that they would have thought that.
And he was quite quiet for all that time, but he wasn't, he was busy. He was doing stuff. He was making money. As James points out, he was quite busy doing stuff with Chinese firms. And why was none of this war gamed? Why did they not think through the consequences? But even more seriously, why didn't they think through the consequences of appointing him? Didn't anyone say, well, hang on a minute, what if the British people don't really want him back after he walked away?
Yeah.
After he,
on foreign policy.
He just isn't a popular... Who's this going to play well with? It's so alarming.
Plays well with Dean Dorries' book about a cabal.
Plays well with a few people in the Cotswolds, but not that many. And
it feels like a sign of failure. It reminds me of a bit of when Gordon Brown brought back Peter Mandelson in the dog days of the new Labour administration. It feels like they've run out of ideas, so they're just like, oh, let's wheel David Cameron back out.
It very much feels as though Rishi Sunak, he needs his hand-holding. He needs a sort of lieutenant, to help him. He needs the elder statesman. I mean, for goodness sake, we're talking about David Cameron as, the adult in the room and the elder statesman in this situation. It's pretty dire.
The man who scuttled off after the Brexit referendum just to make money from the Chinese state.
Yeah. Precisely. And any positive news was very, very short-lived, wasn't it? Because immediately after that, we've had so much more of this drama continuing to unfold during this week. And I just think, will that star power, so to speak, have just lost its shine already?
And
I'm not sure about star power, though.
He's a former
power.
PM. There's star power in that. Look, I'm not a fan. I think you can probably guess that. But there is star power in the fact that the majority of the British people will at least recognise his name. We all talk about politicians every day, but there are people in this country who just don't know the names of politicians. That's fine.
That speaks to how diminished people's view of Rishi Sunak is, rather than
and it also doesn't say an awful lot about the Tory membership inside the House of Commons. And they're not good enough to be given the job.
And he won't even be in the House of Commons. No. What about the democratic deficit here? That this man, who's going to be our foreign secretary at a time when the world really the world's on fire, and he's going to be sitting in the House of Lords.
Nick said on Tuesday...
He won't be there to answer questions in the House of Commons.
Nick said on Tuesday, to take this, for him, she completely gets it, don't you? Because rehabilitation and all that. And also, Sunak, yes, handheld. I just think it says... we're going to go back 7 years because we don't know what we're doing.
We don't know what we're doing, and this is the best we've got.
Yeah.
My God, let's move on to something uplifting now. Oh, wait, no. Sewage spills in Hampshire, Kent and Sussex, Emma.
Really disgusting. Every summer we hear about raw sewage, and let's just be clear what that is, raw sewage being discharged, another vile word, into our waterways, into our seas. I don't know how many beaches you can't swim in. Water companies are failing. They make billions in profits, don't they? You know, we know about their CEOs taking their huge bonuses and all of that. Now Southern Water are finally saying that they're going to spend 1.5 billion over the next 10 years on cleaning up some of these spillages over Hampshire, Kent and Sussex. But, I mean, every time we have flooding, we have water shortages in the summer, every time there's heavy rainfall, the waterways seem to be unable to cope. We basically have a Victorian water system, don't we?
Do you know how many, I don't know a factual, but we've talked about this before, how many billions of gallons are lost daily through leaks?
Through leaks, just simply leaks. That's water that we need, that is... And then, every time it rains, we have these vast sewage spills.
And you know within 5 minutes they'll go, water shortage, you can't use your hose pipe. I mean, it's a joke.
For good reason.
And the CEO...
And there's quite a lot of rain in this country.
CEOs, there are the one of Thames Water, £4 million a year for what?
Huge bonuses and soaring bills for customers
What's the
as
answer,
well.
Jay? What's the answer?
I mean, it's also, I'm all for having a dig at the water companies, but the government 2 years ago actually watered down legislation, so no pun intended, so that companies could dump more effluent into the rivers and into the sea, and they did
you
this.
have that on authority? Was that a leak?
No. Very good.
Oh,
very good.
Just as she
Jeremy,
drank
it's got a bad smell about it. Oh, my God, guys, I can't.
You're really in the gutter sewer there, aren't you? Go on,
Shall
Nick.
we move on? I've got no puns.
Keep your head above the
I've
waves.
got no puns to give. James, pensions are predicted to get a significant boost after that fall in inflation we reported earlier in the week.
Yeah, so the government has a triple lock on pensions, which means it goes up with either 2.5% or with either the rate of wages or the rate of inflation, whichever's higher. So pensions are likely to go up by 8.5%. This sounds like a really great thing for pensioners, but there's kind of a hidden stealth tax in this, in that because the personal allowance, which is that you get £12,700 before you have to pay tax, because that threshold staying frozen, a lot more pensioners, I think 700,000 more pensioners will now be drawn into paying income tax on their state pension. So you're going to have you'll have 90-year-olds with tax returns, brown envelopes dropping onto the doorstep, and they'll have to fill out complicated tax returns. So it's not, it's give with one hand, take with the other.
What's your take on this, Emma?
Well, I just think that many pensioners just can't deal with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
They can't deal with doing tax returns and things. I remember trying to fill out forms to try and get my nana a pension when she was in her 70s, and it was just a different world. She said, no, there's 14 pages to this. I don't want to do it.
Ed Vasey, who does the papers with us on a Monday, goes on and on about simplifying the tax system.
But a lot of older people,
well.
they can't do it online, and they just get frightened. And my nana was happier to live without any help because she just didn't know what to do. And I think we have to be aware.
It should be done automatically, if anything. It should be taxed at source so that people
It's
don't...
not fit for purpose, doesn't
It's hard enough for those of us
working.
who kind of know how computers work.
I know, exactly. Emma, this fascinating story in the Mail here.
Yeah.
Medics are now being trained to use obese CPR dummies?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you've been in a hospital recently. I'm
Yes,
sure you're
I
there. Yeah. Have you noticed that beds, wheelchairs, mortuary fridges, hoists, everything is getting huge?
Yes.
Lifts are getting huge. We have to live with the fact that the UK adults, are overweight and obese increasingly. We're now getting medical dummies, like this dummy that we see on screen,
that's a dummy?
who is obese. That's a medical dummy. This is for medical students to work on. This female obese mannequin also has large breasts. This is to help students learn about resuscitation of patients.
See, that's good.
Part of me thinks this is necessary. We live with many obese and overweight adults. We need to know how to resuscitate larger people. We need to know medical students need to know how to work on them.
Yeah.
There's no good. They're saying, oh, well, the current dummies are little more than beanbags. But I also worry that we are normalising. Rather than tackling the issue, we're just making everything huge for bigger people. Rather than saying this is a crisis, we're kind of saying, OK, everyone's huge, so let's just make dummy... Sorry, I shouldn't say huge, that's not fair. We're just increasing the sizes of everything. I mean, that woman, it's an obese mannequin.
Yeah. I think it's really good to have mannequins that have got breasts on them now. I've spoken about this previously on the show. A lot of men surveyed actually wouldn't want to perform CPR on a woman because they feel uncomfortable with knowing how to do it. Yeah. To be honest, if I had to do CPR on someone, I'd struggle anyway.
Exactly.
But if somebody had large breasts, you wouldn't know where to put your hands.
So should I tell you, we were talking yesterday about education. You'll laugh at me. I think the kids at school, I think everybody should do a CPR course. I think whether it's at school or college. I have no understanding why we live in a society party where that, you know, we were talking about practicalities yesterday.
no, we should do it
Absolutely.
regularly as
And you're
well.
right about obesity. People won't like this. There should be more spent on educating people that eating rubbish food is not good for you, or drinking because it causes diabetes, that then affects the NHS. But, yeah, that or not, I absolutely CPR. Are you all right?
Yes, no, no.
Oh, God, I
just
thought
like
she was going in labour. I thought I had to... I'm ready.
You're ready, are you?
If you go into labour,
There's
I'm
only
in.
one
Good.
person here who's given birth.
Oh, there we go, and it's Emma. She
5
good.
times.
No, you haven't given
You've
birth.
never given birth.
I felt
You
like
have
it.
I hate
not
to break
given
it to
birth,
you.
Jeremy.
Oh, look, we're going to have an argument now. No, but I've been there 5 times. That was quite stressful.
Yes, I'm sure it was very, very stressful for you, Jeremy.
I'm so sorry. I hope they gave you a nice brandy and a cigar.
A nice bottle of Chablis. Anyway.
Right. Emma, we're going to move on to this story in the Mirror, all about the name of people's dogs.
Yeah, apparently, since this very, very popular film Barbie, which some of us couldn't even bear, I didn't see it. Dogs are now.
neither,
Dogs
I
are
loved
now.
it.
Of course
Was it
you...
good?
James,
It's
did you watch Barbie?
extraordinary.
I watched half of it and then I left.
What?
I kind of got tired. Someone was eating popcorn very noisily. This is why I
that's
don't
fair.
go to the cinema. Someone was eating popcorn very noisily next to me, so I left and waited in the car while my girlfriend
I think
finished
he
the film.
looks like the star of Barbie.
He does look
Ryan
like
Gosling.
Ryan.
You look very like Ryan
you've got
Gosling.
Ryan
I did have
Gosling
blonde
look
hair
about
last
you.
year.
You look-
I couldn't dye it this year again because I didn't want to be called like I was trying to be Ken or something.
TalkTV's very own Ken.
But
And I've got to say, Emily Rose Adams has got a Barbie look about her.
Oh,
as well.
Barbie and Ken are in the building.
Look at this, Barbie and Ken over there.
Can you put them on us? Can you put them together on the camera? Can you do that? Does it
I
work?
can.
Come on. Let's have a
I
shot
can.
of Barbie. Come on, Barbie.
I'm a Barbie girl. Barbie
You amaze me. This strong, formidable woman with all these
Thanks,
views,
babes.
and you're just into trash films and rubbish music.
Really?
Here,
Jeremy
so
and
you
I
can
are the
tell.
only adults in
Yeah,
the room once
Barbie, my
again.
back.
This is why you can tell that you guys haven't seen the Barbie film, because it's not a trash film, it's a feminist
Precisely why I'm
anthem
not
for
watching
women.
it.
But there is, believe it or not, a reason why we're talking about
Yes.
the Barbie film.
Yep.
Really, really quickly.
Dogs are not being called Rover, they're being called Pink and Barbie. And if you fancy shouting Pink across a park, then good luck to you.
My friend's dog's called Megatron.
That's
so-
animal abuse.
You think it's animal abuse?
What's your friend's dog called?
Megatron.
That's ridiculous.
That's a good name. That's
I think
a
it's a
good
great
name. to
name.
shout
Emma,
across the park.
did you watch the Barbie film?
I did.
And?
It was lovely. I
Of
was
course
there
you
having
did.
a
Did you
great
take
time.
your husband?
No, I went with
because
one of my
he's-
girly friends who wore pink. It was a day for celebration.
Do you have a
Yeah.
dog?
No, I don't. But if I did, I'd love to call it something like Dave or Bob or Bill. All of these crazy names
Yeah,
that everyone's
I like
got.
Dave or... Oh, Dave. Here, Dave, all right? Yeah, here we go. Fantastic. Good.
Well,
Thank
thank you so much to Emma and James. They'll be back in just under